It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Thanks for joining us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante, and remember, we're on HD, so if you're watching us on Channel 13 and you have an HD TV, switch on 513. You'll see a major difference. Folks, today's title, the topic of today's show, the big lie in Harrisburg. Of course, I could say the big lie in Washington, the big lie in the White House, the big lie whatever, but the big lie in Harrisburg. Folks, before I go on with the show, I want to highly recommend that you read in the Standard Speaker, July the 17th, the Sunday edition, of my good friend L.A. Tyrone's column. Okay, I want you to read that column, folks. As always, L.A. Tyrone hits it right on target. Puts a lot of information in it. Now, folks, this is a $5 bill, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you that every year, I'm going to give Tarah Toohil $5 to pay for her expenses. Every year, I'm giving her $5. Then someone comes along and says, you know what, I just found a lot of money. I just found money. Now, I'm going to give you only this year, Tarah, another $20, okay? Only for this year. Now, you take that $20 and do whatever you want with that $20. But remember, it's only a one-time deal. Next year comes along, the $20 comes back, but I give Tarah $6 instead of $5. Now, to me, folks, that's an increase of 20%. I think it is. You know, that's math. Now, here's the big lie in Harrisburg, okay? The big lie is you hear about this governor saying, you know, the Republicans are taking from education. They don't care about education, et cetera, et cetera. The fact of the matter is, it's the highest it's ever been. It's the highest it's ever been giving people education. So the lie that comes out of there, particularly with these commercials you have, and keep in mind, folks, I don't care if this guy was a Republican. I'd say the same thing. This guy is a disaster. He is a total disaster, okay? And when it comes to telling the truth, and his PR people, they should be ashamed of themselves of what they're doing with these commercials, okay? Calling it garbage and having two elephants fighting. Come on, get to the facts and work these problems out. Now, my guest today is Tarah Toohil, who is our state representative. Tarah, I'll give you the $5 after the thing, okay?
All right.
As you can tell, I'm very frustrated, okay?
Yes, and rightfully so.
And it has nothing to do with him being a Democrat or Republican, okay? I just think I had Senator Udicak, who is a Democrat, okay, who believes in the same way of working things out. Now, I just presented. Governor Corbett was criticized that he cut education. They have people believing that, you know, when Obama gave that money, stimulus money, well, then it only was a certain time. If they screwed it up, that's their business, but it came back. Then they increased it. Am I correct?
Yes, so it's important for the viewers when you're watching television, when you watch commercials, it's important to know that a winning political message is to say, we're going to increase education. And if you want to go against someone and try to vote them out, it's really helpful to say they cut education. So it was really a classic scenario when we had our last election for governor that they said Governor Corbett cut education, which was not true. So right now there's some commercials on TV that say $95 million was cut out of education. And that number is just not true. And we can show you a scale where every single year the legislature and the governor, under Governor Corbett, gave more money to education every single year. And in this last budget, the budget we did in June, the final budget after 6 months of a budget impasse, we did that final budget in December. That passed and has gone now into law. That budget was finally passed after all this rigmarole and all this crisis. That budget has more money than ever before to education.
Well, first of all, to me, when I say the big lie in Harrisburg, it is a big lie, okay? And what happens is you, okay, as a state representative, they're saying, call your state representative, okay? So I'm going to call you, and you're going to say, well, look, this is what I'm doing. So, Tarah, how do the average person out there, okay, and, you know, I'm very thankful when someone comes and says to me, Sam, I watch your show, thanks, so we can get information. I don't try to, I'm upset because I see the nonsense and the political crap that's going on, and it's affecting senior citizens, it's affecting our education, it's affecting everybody because they want to play that, quote, political game. That's why I say they should be ashamed of themselves with these commercials, okay? And the governor should know better, okay? I don't know where his head is. I've invited him to come on this show. They explained many times to the Commonwealth, but he comes up and he's always, for the schools, and I'm walking around shaking hands, etc. Do something that is affecting our residents. So how does this budget that he wants affect the average person?
So the budget that has been the big argument would have been a budget with massive tax increases, and it would have been tax increases on your personal income tax and your sales tax. And the people that I represent, they only want personal income tax increase or sales tax increase if it's combined with you being able to have property tax relief and total elimination. And the only way that you're ever going to own your home and really own it, say you pay off your mortgage, you're never really going to own your home because you are constantly going to pay property taxes. And every year the property taxes go up and up and up. So it would be unfortunate to raise the personal income tax and raise the sales tax if you didn't have that property tax reform or property tax something to help people.
Everyone's going to get affected by that.
Yes, so that was what was that's what this big argument has been over. When people are frustrated with Harrisburg and they're saying, why is this budget taking so long? Why did the governor veto the budget? Then why have we had all these attempts that failed for 6 months until now finally we did the budget in December that he didn't veto, he only vetoed part of it. The reason why that's going on is because you have many people, Democrats and Republicans, they do not want to raise your taxes. So the governor and what he was trying to do was not something that Republicans and Democrats in Harrisburg are willing to do because we don't feel that we're sent there to raise your taxes.
Well, the thing is, if you're trying to work and trying to do the best for the Commonwealth, I don't think it's good to aggravate people. And that's why I think, and Senator Udicak agrees with me, I don't think it's proper for his campaign to be coming out with these ads, insulting, the Republicans. And again, if it was vice versa, I'd be the same way, okay? I think it's keep your mouth shut, bring people in, start working on these problems, okay, one at a time. Bring Tarah in, bring Tobesh in, bring Knowles in, bring whomever you have, bring in to start working on this. Because if a tax increase goes in, Tarah, and I'm going and I'm paying more, you know what I'm saying? What does that Toohil doing to me? Right. What is that Tarah Toohil doing? What is that Udicak doing to me? So everyone gets blamed except the governor himself, okay?
Right. I think that it's a technique, it's a political technique because they're trying to get rid of Republicans that are in there so I know that some are even getting mailers. There's a lot of money being spent on mailers against Republicans right now, and as well as these ads. I don't know what the amount is, but to have that TV time is very expensive. So it just politicizes what's going on, and it makes it harder for people to come to the table. Because if you're attacking me, it's going to make it harder for me to come to this table, sit down with you, and the two of us reach a consensus.
It's all agenda. It's all agenda driven, and unfortunately, the average person out there looks at this and says the governor says this, and the fact is that's a lie. Okay, and they twist things around, and so I think his people who are advising him. I've been around a while. Okay, and I think public relations is very important. Corbett was always told the truth and did what he had to do. Brought the budget, gave more education money. He just didn't have that personality.
Right.
And the special interest came in and says, oh my God, this guy, etc. God forbid we should do something for the people out there, okay?
And I think it's important when people out there, you have to watch what's going on with the presidential race because they're saying things and everybody's going to say things that sound really great. Like, oh, that sounds great. Let's increase minimum wage. But it's like, well, how much more can an employer pay if you increase the minimum wage? How much more are you going to pay your employees? So you got to be really careful when you do that because they lay off employees and they make more part-time jobs and you might end up hurting people. So with the presidential race, it's so important to say, what really is it going to have an impact on? How's it going to affect people that are working?
Here's Walmart. Walmart was a classic example. When some areas, and this they could Google this, if some areas where they increased their minimum wage. Okay, now this is meant for entry-level people.
Right.
People think that, well, you know, if there are people working in Walmart making, you know, some serious money. I don't think, but entry level. What happened was when they hit that increase, 10,000 people now are being laid off. They stopped building a few of them because the product, the competitive factor there. But however, here's the other thing. This is another big lie, okay, from the from the Wolf administration. Those gas companies, they're making billions of dollars, and we got to tax those people. We got to tax them. It's not fair for them not to be paying taxes. That's why I said read L.A. Tyrone's article, January 17th in the Standard Speaker. L.A. did a great job with it.
L.A. did such a great job with that article. L.A. Tyrone is such a smart guy,
yes.
And I was really glad to see that article because he knows the facts and he knows what's going on.
Some of those facts are.
Well, okay, so one is you have, in Pennsylvania, we've had drilling. Drilling has been going on, the natural gas drilling, and it finally got up to a point where these gas companies were hiring more people, and the trickle down of those jobs is, I mean, there's a lot of jobs there. You need a lawyer for every land deal that they're working on, major land purchases. There's truck drivers that are hauling, water companies, water is being used, more water is being purchased. I mean, there's so much that goes into a drilling operation. So some people were from out of state because natural gas drilling is very difficult and it's a very intense job. So some of the people, like the person that's actually the rig operator, you want that person to know what they're doing. And a lot of them, some of them were from Texas. But then you had other jobs where waste management, you had companies that were just starting up from the ground, brand new employers that were starting up and having huge waste management companies because they have to deal with the, removing rock and removing dirt. Then you have the reclamation that they do to try to get the land back the way it was. So there were a great many jobs, especially here above us in northeastern Pennsylvania, above our area. And so you have those jobs. And what happened was those gas companies, they're very smart. They want to work in a good political environment, a good tax environment. So the gas companies are already paying 9.99%. So they're up here. They're already paying 9.99%, which is the highest corporate net income tax. It's the highest corporate net income tax in the country and in the world, one of the highest. And then on top of it, in 2010, we voted because there wasn't an extra tax on them. So we voted on top of that to do 4.5%. So they're already paying 9.9, and then I voted to tax them even more. Governor Corbett voted to tax them even more. And nobody marketed and talked about, that's not a Republican message to be like, yay, we tax the drillers, keep taxing them. So nobody marketed that idea. But under Governor Rendell, they weren't getting taxed. They were getting taxed at 9.9, and then we added the additional 4.5. And right now, when you see these commercials that say they're refusing to tax the drillers, I'm okay with doing more of a tax. But these drillers, basically what they did was they're like, you know what, Pennsylvania is not being welcoming to us. They're taxing us. They're talking about trying to take more away from us. So we're going to lay off hundreds of people, even there's been thousands of people, and they took a lot of those rigs and they moved to Ohio, where the governor there was saying, come on in, we want to drill, baby drill, and we want senior citizens to have natural gas in their homes. And here we have coal still beneath our feet that you could be heating your homes with, and that would be jobs right here. You can have both. You can have diversity.
When you say that word jobs, the liberal Democrats get nervous because they want people not to work. They just want to give these people access cards. They want to give them.
Well, I don't think that. I think
that's my opinion.
That's your opinion. I think
my
what
opinion
they want is. They want both, but you can't have the jobs while you're taxing the people. I said the
liberal Democrats, okay, and we're going to touch on that in a second. And that's why I think people are, Trump is gaining so much. People are so fed up what's happening in this country. And someone has to just get the bull by the horn, so to speak.
And he's talking about doing tariffs. If he puts a 45% tariff on the goods that are coming in here, I think as Americans, we would say, well, I'm not buying that at Old Navy. I'm going to buy the stuff that's made here at home.
That's right.
And that you would burn natural gas and you would use coal.
The fact of the matter is the gas companies are paying a substantial tax.
So they're paying more than everybody else already.
How many jobs, and how many, because I don't know this for a fact, how many, since he made that announcement that we're going to come after you guys and tax you, because again, he has you people believing that they're not paying taxes, which is again a lie. Why is it then, how many gas companies have decided not to employ more people and are thinking of pulling out?
Well, in the Northeast, there's companies in the Northeast that they just basically stopped a lot of their operations. They're not drilling for any new, they're not drilling in any new areas. So that 4.5% tax, since they're not going to open any new areas, they were expanding, they were buying land, they were doing all sorts of things. And since they stopped that, everything's basically at a standstill. So when you talk about taxing these commercials on television that are like, add an extra tax, so 9.9, 4.5, let's add something else on them, the revenue from that is only $19 million. $19 million is not going to get anybody anywhere. We did $400 million more for education this year, and that went through. And $400 million increase, that $19 million, you could cut waste and spending in government and come up with $19 million. So it's a problem that kids today that are graduating and they're going to technical schools because they thought they were going to get a job working in the Marcellus shale industry. Good luck to them.
It's sad. Folks, I'm talking to Tarah Toohil, representative of 116 legislative district, right? 116?
Yes.
As you can tell, folks, it's very important that you know who the candidates are when you're voting for them. Really, it's so important. And I don't care whether Democrats or Republican. For you people think that I'm picking the Democrats, I'm picking on the people that are not being true, okay? They only want power, okay? That power nonsense is going down the tubes as far as I'm concerned. Remember they told you years ago there'll be no more property tax? Remember you senior citizens, okay? Thank the good Lord we're having energy relief. Thank the good Lord you're not paying that kind of high prices for your fuel oil anymore and your gases. That's giving our seniors and people who are on retirement additional money. Now, the next issue we're going to talk about is the abuse and fraud that upsets 90% of the people when they see how these access cards are being abused. Liberal Democrats don't want to hear that. We'll be back right after this. Thanks for staying with us, folks. You're watching the Sam Lesante Show. Remember, 24/7, all of our shows, ssptv.com. My email is sam@ssptv.com. And remember, if you're watching us on Channel 13, you can flip us to 513, folks. We're now HD, high definition. My guest today, Tarah Toohil, talking about the lie in Harrisburg. Once again, Tarah, this is strictly business, nothing personal against Governor Wolf. I think that he is on the wrong track. I think he's surrounding himself by wrong people, particularly the fact that he has these ads coming out, which does not help matters at all. But if his budget goes through, a lot of people across the board are going to be seeing the raise in their taxes. Now, let me get to another area, okay? It seems that when you talk about the fraud, or which Corbett was starting to address with the access cards, I sense the frustration when I'm in the stores or people come up to me and the sad stories they tell you, people who worked all their lives and they're counting nickels and dimes, and here they come other people taking advantage of the system. And rightly, if they need it, I think we should help them.
Right.
But what are you doing to get rid of all the fraud that's happening with these access cards?
So there is, a couple of years ago, they had said there was $1 billion in fraud, waste, and abuse. And that was the Auditor General at the time, Wagner. He had said that there was all this waste, fraud, and abuse going on. So we were able to get through small reforms. But government, for some reason, there's so much fat in government. And they don't want to cut the fat. So it's something that you have to constantly keep on trying to go after. And I have a family that called me, and they have a child who has a heroin addiction, like so many families are suffering with this heroin epidemic. And he has an access card. So when he got sent away to prison, for 3 months, the money on that card just accumulated. So he had $600, then he had $1,200, then he had $1,800. So after 3 months, he goes to the judge says, you're gonna get a job, right? You're gonna make better with yourself. So he goes out onto the street and he's got this card that you can sell to the drug dealer. The drug dealer can take it to the grocery store. Nobody checks the card at the grocery store, the cash register. They don't say, oh, are you Sam Lesante? You said you were Sam Lesante. So anybody can use that card. And they're able to then go back and they're right back on drugs with more money than they would have ever had. So I have a House bill which is going to cut it off so that you are not able to have this rollover money because this rollover money is very dangerous. And if you're living on a budget and you need money from the government for food to feed your children, the government is going to help you do that.
Okay.
But it has to be, you got to need that money, and that's your monthly budget, and you have to use the money.
Yeah, the reason why the fat's there is because they want these people to vote for them. Okay, that's what they're trying to do. And meanwhile, the people who support these wackos, okay, they're paying the price. Don't complain if you see the abuse. But here's another thing.
And veterans. Why isn't it going to the veterans? Why isn't it going to the senior citizens?
That's the thing that just blows my mind. The other thing is you have an able person who is working from a temp agency. They go into a company, they are doing so well. The company says, you know what, Tara, you're doing so well, we want to give you a full-time job and give you $2 an hour more. And the person says, no, because I have my access card, yes, and I don't want that full-time job. Here's where I think they should come and say, wait a second, you now lost your access card because you have a job. We have able people out there, excuse me, young men and women in their 20s, in their 30s, who are sitting on their fannies every day doing nothing, collecting these because they know how to work the system. The system has to be changed, okay? And that's why I think Trump is saying this is going to stop, okay? It's going to definitely stop. Now that bothers people like Clinton, okay, because she still wants to give the country away, okay? In my opinion, okay?
There is that welfare cliff. So what you're talking about is, single mother, single father, he's working and they get up to this point and they're working so hard, they're offered that raise at work and they cannot take it because they'll lose any kind of other benefit that they're getting. So we did have a bill, and now it hasn't passed through the Senate yet, but it is a bill that eliminates that welfare cliff. So you're going to give them some support while they get up there, and then they're going to get to a point where they don't have to be dependent on the government anymore. So there are things that we can do in the government to help those working families and to give them that independence and that liberation from all of this.
Well, the thing here again, it's a matter of working together and listening to the public, because you're listening to as a state representative, you're hearing it all the time. Okay, I hear it when I go out and people saying, why don't we do something about illegals and all this other stuff? Okay, and when you begin talking about that, then people say you're prejudiced. You don't want to help people, which is absolutely nonsense. It's not the case at all. It's just terrible. Okay, and when will someone have the courage, okay, in Harrisburg to address the issues and say enough's enough, okay, and put political things aside?
Well, one big thing is if you look at some of the children and the teachers see it, the kids in their classes, they see no coats, no jackets in the middle of winter. The schools see these kids and they are stuck in this cycle of poverty and they're never going to get out of that poverty. And so many of them have parents who are getting all this welfare benefits and they're not taking care of their kid. You shouldn't be able to get welfare and not bring your kid to school and not put a jacket on your kid. So we have to make sure that that money is going to these children.
Should the teacher make a report, and tell them, etc.?
Teachers definitely make reports. There has to be increased children and youth services. And the government, we have to go back to when you go up and you pick up your check and you report to that welfare officer and they see your face, they know you, they see those kids and they see that those kids are all right.
Well, I think 90% of them are trying to do their jobs, but the political things is they're concerned because it's all this politics, and they're afraid sometimes, and I guess that's where you need a strong legislative. You know, I could go on and on. I just feel sorry so much for the general public out there, Tarah, who've been lied to, and these political people come in, the Democrats, the Republicans, vote straight Republican, vote straight, which is sad. I say, check, you're running, check what you've done. Put your credentials on. Who's ever running against you, or check what they could do, okay? Right. And then weigh it. That's what I think. It's always a pleasure having you on the show.
It's a pleasure, and I love doing the work that I get to do for the people.
Well, you're always there.
There's lots of work to do.
You're always there, and I appreciate you coming on the show, as well as I do my good friend John Udicek. I told him I'd vote for him for governor,
Yes.
And someone said to me,
Hey, you know what? I would vote for him too.
Yeah. He said, he's the only Democrat you like, which is not true at all. There's a lot of great Democrats.
He is a great legislator.
Folks, SSPTV.com. Remember, my email, sam@SSPTV.com. And Governor Wolf, please, I'd love to have you on the show. Believe me, I'd love to have you on the show. I just think you're doing the wrong thing. I really would appreciate if you could get some of your advisors, get rid of them, get some people that know what's going on, and working with people. We'll see you next time.